Hey everybody, Adam here with Hometown Acres. Welcome back. Today we're going to head down to the sawmill. So last winter we started working on adding shiplap siding to the inside of the garage here, and all this lumber was milled on our sawmill, but we only had enough milled to do about half of the garage. This half of the garage still needs to be done, and over here and behind the workbench over there. And I need to allow time for that lumber to dry. So it is the middle of July right now. I want to go get all of that lumber milled, let it dry for a few months, and then we'll go ahead and start getting it planed down, jointed, table sawed to square up edges, running the router over it. Same as we did for this project over here, except we just now have to double it. So we're gonna head down to the sawmill and start that today by getting all the lumber milled up. All right, so here's the pile of logs we're gonna be working from. If you guys remember, we actually got these logs for free from Klein Energy Services. They were doing a tree job over at a local gas building nearby during that big windstorm that we had this spring. Took down a bunch of trees, and they had about 20 trees all within falling distance of their facilities. And one tree actually fell on their fence and a power line, and they decided it wasn't worth the risk anymore, and they were gonna take down the other 19. And as you guys know, if you've been following the channel, Klein Energy Services, they've got a big chipper that'll take logs up to 22 inches in diameter, especially softwood like this spruce. So when we went over there, I said, hey, if you don't mind, could we haul these over to my place and I'll put them on the sawmill? So I saved all these logs from just being turned into pulp, and now we're actually gonna mill them up and put them to good use here in the garage. So a lot of good logs here, got them all for free. The only investment that I'm gonna have into this is a lot of man hours and a little bit of fuel and a little bit of blade lube. So let's go ahead and start pulling out logs and getting them on the mill. So after the first cut or two, I like to check to see how our cuts are looking and whether our blade is nice and sharp or if it needs changed. So I'll take a straight edge, put it on top of the board, and look to see if we have any wander in our cuts or if our cuts are perfectly flat. And as you can see there, we've got about a 1/4 inch deviation from perfectly flat there. So this blade is definitely due for a change, but I think what I want to do is get all the bark and the outer slabs off of this, get it into a nice square cant, and then I'll change the blade, because that's what dulls a blade the most, is the bark and any dirt on the outside. And might as well use up the remaining life of this blade that's already dull on the outside, and then put a fresh one in to cut the nice clean lumber that we want. This is rough sawn lumber, so it's never going to be perfectly flat, but I definitely want to get it a little bit closer than that, because a 1/4 inch is going to be a lot to take out with the planer. All right, so now that we got that log all squared up, we're gonna go ahead and change and put a fresh blade on here, so all of our cuts after this should be pretty nice and flat. Changing the blade on this machine is very easy. Loosen the blade tensioner, take the cover off both sides. Pull the old blade off, work it off around the wheel. Always a good idea to have gloves on when you're handling sawmill blades. Now you already know whose idea this was to have a place for extra set of blades down here at the sawmill. Neighbor Doug's idea, of course. Always have the tools where you use them and where you need them. Also a good idea to have eye protection on, because these things, when they open up, they spring open. Like that. And then just work it back onto the flywheels. There we go. Put the housing back on the blade guard cover and retension the blade back up. All right, now that we got that new blade on there, let's go ahead and see how straight that cut was. Hopefully it's decently flat. Okay, so that looks to be much better. Any small imperfections in that will come out with the planer in a couple of passes. The 1/4 inch that we had before would be a much bigger deal. Now, a couple things we had working in our favor is, 1, we got all of the bark off. 2, we've got a new blade on there. And 3, because we've made the log smaller by taking all of the outside slabs off, we're able to slide this guide in-feed roller in. This is telescopic, so it slides in and out. You have to go really wide whenever you've got the whole log on there. But as you start to work the log down, you can slide that in, which keeps the throat of the blade here nice and tight, and keeps the blade tight, and keeps the blade from wanting to wander. So now that we've got these milled in half, we're gonna go ahead and start ripping down our 1x6s. All right, so we've got everything locked down, and we have about 10.5 inches. So I'm gonna say we're gonna get about maybe 18 1x6s out of this. We'll see how close that is. Well, there we go, guys. I only had enough time to get to 2 logs. I ended up taking Anderson for a little bit of a joyride on the 4-wheeler this afternoon. And but out of those 2 logs, they were fairly large diameter, I think 22 inch diameter spruce logs. I was able to get 48 1x6s. And if you go to Home Depot's website right now and look up 1x6x10 footers, they're $16.92 a piece right now. So that works out to roughly $800 worth of lumber there. Now I still gotta let them dry. I gotta surface them on all 4 sides, plane them, join them, all that good stuff. So I've got some more shop time this fall and winter when the weather turns ugly. But getting this done now just allows them time to dry, and it'll give me something to do this winter. I don't know about you guys, but I love a good looking stack of stickered rough sawn lumber. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this one, give me a big thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. One more thing, I almost forgot to give you guys a pond update. This is 6 days after we completed the pond repairs in here and brought all that clay in and got the siphon running. Obviously, it's still too soon to say whether it's fixed or not, but step in the right direction. Now, over those last 6 days, we have only gotten 1 rainstorm that put down about 1/3 of an inch. All of the rest of this is from the siphon.